Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jerry Cooley.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Thanks for joining us.
And folks, we have taken a little time off, but we wanted to get all the candidates. It's one thing that we at Santa Rosa Week TV believe strongly in. We take a unbiased look at all the candidates. We ask them questions. We let them respond, and it is certainly something that we're going to do every election cycle.
Can I just point out the sad turnout? I think it was 22%.
You can point that out.
Very sad, very disappointing.
And I would like to point out that we at Santa Rosa Week TV did everything we could to increase that turnout.
Yeah.
We did our part. In the news media, we gave every candidate that was willing to come on our show, we gave every candidate an opportunity to discuss and talk about issues, and I'm very proud of that, and we're always going to do that. Now, one of the things that I've been dying to talk about, and folks, we knew we had all these candidate shows up, but we want to back up a little bit, and somebody told me a long time ago. They said, and not just one person, several people. Several people told me that I would never accomplish the removal of Cindy Anderson at Team Santa Rosa.
I think I was one of them.
You were one of them. Not to name any names. And several people told me that I would never have an impact on Team Santa Rosa.
Actually, what I told you was you're never an impact, is what I said.
Right.
That's not going to change. Nothing's going to happen.
So, just to rehash a little bit, folks, they never followed open records. They never followed open meetings until it was forced upon them by myself and several of my friends. They continued to involve themselves in unsavory activities, self-dealing, a lot of things that we really, I just didn't think was necessary, and I took a stand, folks. And I say that I don't need a pat on the back, okay? What I want you to know is that you can make a difference in your community. You can have an impact in your community. And I'm going to tell you, from time to time, you're going to get some barbs thrown at you, and people will write emails and call you a spineless jackass and things of that nature, but that's okay. I'm very happy to report to you that as of August the 31st at 12 p.m., the organization that was started by Congressman Jeff Miller and Mr. Don Salter, who's a county commissioner in Santa Rosa County, is gone. Fini, over, finished, done. And I look forward to...
And let me interject so that we're clear on this. The viewers are clear on this. Because they portray themselves as a so-called economic development, jobs somehow generating agency. In my opinion, the reason this agency was stood up was to slide things under the table that
Right.
certain people, county commissioners and other people, influential people behind the scenes, did not want to be brought before the public before it was sneaked through.
They could massage things behind
Correct.
closed doors.
That is correct.
Right.
And also, it's a little pin money, place. You park your money and then you dole it out in
Right.
consulting contracts and stuff like
Well, the interesting thing is in all of this, and folks, you're going to hear more and more about it as the weeks and months unfold. But the restore dollars that is coming from the fine money from the BP spill,
which will be in the millions and millions.
which
be upwards of $60 million.
Santa Rosa County may see an infusion of $50 to $60 million. It is my humble opinion that the reason that certain individuals fought so hard to maintain Team Santa Rosa was because they wanted a piece of that pie. And I will tell you, that was one of my greatest fears, that they somehow would get a hold of that. Well, we don't have to worry about that now, folks. One of the people, and I'm going to name this.
I just want to say this real fast. In my opinion, the squabbling has already started over that money.
Well, it has.
And it's going to be extremely entertaining to watch the jackals turn on each other
Right.
and try to grub as much of it as possible off of public programs as they can.
Right.
Of course, we're going to cover every dime of it.
Right. Well, look. Here's the important thing. Our very own Lane Lynchard was instrumental in working the federal government into getting this money for Northwest Florida. He was recognized by the League of Counties as instrumental in that. And one thing that Commissioner Lynchard has told me repeatedly: we are going to spend this money wisely. And in a recent county commission meeting, all discussions are going to be at noticed meetings.
Yeah.
The public is going to be invited to all notice meetings. And whatever happens to be thrown out there, it'll be documented and looked at and discussed openly in front of the public, as it should be. And then a committee of people, probably one pick from each commissioner, and in each major area of the county will have representatives on that board. Whatever they come up with, then it's got to go through all 5 county commissioners.
Right.
So one thing that I'm very proud of, and Commissioner Lynchard, I can't say enough good about Commissioner Lynchard's stance on this. It may not technically be a sunshine board, but all discussions are going to be in the open. There's not going to be any discussions behind closed doors. There's not going to be anything that happens to filter in by other means is going to be handed to the committee, and the committee's going to discuss it with the cameras on and the microphones turned on. And
we'll see what it may be required to be a sunshine board. We'll see.
It may be. I'm not, and certainly I'm not against it being a sunshine board. I would rather it be where there can be a free exchange of ideas. I'm excited about the fact that it's going to be noticed meetings, period, end of story.
Right, yeah.
There's not going to be anybody with the key to the back door at the county commission meeting room slipping in the back, twisting arms to get money to be spent on a particular item.
Well, I'll make an educated prediction. I'm guessing probably less Santa Rosa money will be flushed down the toilet and stolen than in Escambia.
I would think that would probably be.
I mean, I could imagine.
Well, in Okaloosa, too.
Oh, yeah, that goes without saying. I mean, I can imagine in Escambia them buying like $20,000 a pop stadium seats because they, got bleached out by the sun. Something ridiculous like that. I mean, you can see that happening over there.
Well, I look forward and very honestly, I have done my part. And I was unhappy with economic development. A lot of people was happy with how it was being handled, economic development, and so we're going to do something different now. And folks, just to catch you up on what we are going to do, the Board of County Commissioners are going to put out a request for bids or proposals. We will find a group of individuals that they do nationwide searches for jobs such as this. And in the near future, they will pick one of these search firms. That search firm then goes out and scours the United States of America. And we will have a bid package. This is what we're looking for. This is your job responsibilities. The whole.
It's under the county now. It'll be a county function. It'll be interesting to see how effective that ends up being. But at least if there's much less opportunity to steal. Right.
Well, the good thing about it is, to date, Mr. Heiser in Escambia County with the Pensacola Chamber, I think he's been pretty successful.
Well,
and-
they still claim they're not subject to sunshine law.
well, and not
They're
to
taking up, I think, $2 million a year.
not to get caught up in the
least.
weeds on that, but one of the reasons that I believe he's doing fairly well is because he's not from here. He doesn't owe anybody anything. He doesn't have long-term, tenacious, tentacle relationships tied into you must jump when this person says something. And I hope in the search for a person for Santa Rosa County that we find someone that's not from here. That's just my humble opinion on the matter. One of the things that causes problems is when people are too familiar with each other.
Yes, that's very true. I think it's
And-
called the Good Old Boy Network,
Yeah.
colloquially.
Yeah, the good old boy network. But you know, I think this is all coming together at the right time. We end our relationship with Team Santa Rosa. We're starting fresh with that. At the same time, we'll put a committee together for the Restore dollars, and honestly, part of the Restore dollars can be spent on economic development issues. A portion of it has to be used for environmental stuff.
Right. There's 5 pots.
Right.
Yeah.
So I look forward to a new person coming in here.
And one of the pots allows unlimited overhead expenses. Just FYI.
Well, I think I will tell you, and that's why I'm in such praise of Commissioner Lynchard. In every conversation I've had with him about it, he is kind of he is a little low key, but he lights up when you start talking about those Restore dollars,
Yeah.
and he is not going to allow a questionable circumstance or a questionable expenditure. Because one of the things that we have to look at, folks, is the dollars that we get needs to be lasting impact for 15 or 20
Yeah.
years. Not spend it all today
Right.
and stand there asking for more.
Yeah. I
Very
suspect we're looking at either a beach project, like a renourishment, or we're looking at something at the aviation park. I mean, who knows, though?
Yeah, well, I hope. I would much rather. In there may be one or two things that float to the top that are fairly high dollars.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I really think we need to look at all the affected areas and what best bang for the buck we can
Yeah.
get.
One thing that'll really annoy me is if money goes towards something along the lines of somebody made a bad investment near the Whiting Aviation Park and wants to unload his property, or wants to unload bad
Or
property.
maybe sell a bridge to us.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll be
Yeah.
keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, we're certainly going to watch it closely. So,
And I'm just going to interject. I think the process also sort of brought to light the farcical nature of economic development, and I think we differ a little bit on that. I think it's a waste of money entirely. I understand you have to have an agency set up to get certain kinds of grant money and certain kinds of dollars, and they have to have something set up. But as far as taking a chunk of money and handing it to this company or that company, or you don't have to pay your taxes
Well,
for 10 years or something like that, or here's some free land.
the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which I think probably studies it as much as anybody, I mean, a couple things that I take that I believe wholeheartly, and 8 or 10 years ago, I said it the first time in a public meeting, and you would have thought, I was the devil himself. Those two items are: the majority of your new jobs come from existing businesses that are already in your county. And item number 2, infrastructure. Curbs, gutters, make the place look nice. The road striping, what the medians look like. It's all important when site management people come into your community looking for a place to open their business.
That's right.
And amazingly enough, after saying that over 8 years ago and being fussed about it, that I didn't. A fellow once stood up in a county commission meeting and said, apparently Mr. Cooey is not well educated enough to understand how economic development
Yeah.
works. Interestingly enough, when Mr. Heiser comes to Santa Rosa County to give us a pep talk, that's the first thing that he said. 80% of your jobs come from small businesses in your community, and that's where you get the most bang for your buck. So, I guess it's all about timing, but that's okay. I think Santa Rosa County, once we get a new economic development person in place, you're going to see a stronger focus on small businesses. I can tell you this, I know for a fact that the previous organization in charge of that, although they had some fans, there was plenty of other people that were talked to rudely on the phone or phone calls not returned. A lot of negative things that occurred there. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. Is government or Santa Rosa County or the state of Florida going to be able to do everything they can to help a business? No. But we're at least going to be polite in the process. And I'm excited about the possibilities. And look, I know, as the number one critic of the former economic development, I know folks are looking at me now. Folks, let me assure you that I am networking to people and organizations that I trust, that have integrity, that have morals and ethics, and it's going to be our turn now. But we're done with the previous organization. This is a group effort, folks. So when we get a new economic development person in place, we always encourage involvement from the folks that watch this show and all of our citizens. So keep that in mind. We're all in this together. And any creative ideas, please pass them on to the Board of County Commissioners or to this show, to the new economic development organization that comes from this.
We know it'll facilitate at least one job. Probably a secretary too.
It's going to facilitate one job.
At least
right out of the gate.
I'm going to predict 4.
Right out of the gate, there will be at least 2 jobs. So that's kind of an update on that, folks. Like I said, I've really been wanting to talk about this, but we wanted to get all the candidates. We wanted to give them their fair time prior to the election. So now Deborah has a couple issues she wants to talk about. So go ahead.
Well, I want to talk about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This is they're calling it kind of super NAFTA or mega NAFTA. It's being, the trade negotiations are going on between, I won't read the countries that are involved besides the United States. It's Australia, Brunei, Chile, Malaysia, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam. And now they've just let Canada and Mexico in, and it looks like Japan's probably going to be in there too.
Right.
And I mean, this is all being conducted in secret. Of course, the industry people are allowed in, but citizens aren't allowed to monitor it. What they're going to do is come out, here's our plan, push it through, and you're now subject to this. And people think, oh, well, this has to do with tariffs and borders. And actually what it has to do is it allows these giant companies to sue your government, sue the United States. Right. And the United States has lost almost every lawsuit.
No different than the regular NAFTA or the regular CAFTA.
And we've lost almost every lawsuit that's come against it. And this is the example I always use because it's this type of thing that would happen here. Say our county passes a regulation, you can't mine sand from the beach. And some international corporation, for whatever reason, has a lease on the beach. And so they'll sit down with a calculator and a lawyer and say, well, we're going to lose $50 million over the last 10 years because we were going to mine that sand out and melt it down, make glass, whatever out of it. So they sue Santa Rosa County. Instead of it going to a legitimate court, it goes to a secret tribunal.
Right.
We're not allowed to attend.
World court.
The county's not allowed to attend. Nobody's allowed to attend except the lawyers involved with the trade process. Right. They negotiate a settlement, and we end up paying out of our pockets for. In other words, we've lost our sovereignty.
Right.
We've lost our sovereignty, and this is being snuck through. Both parties are accomplices.
Participating.
Both parties are accomplices. The current administration is an accomplice. The previous administration was an accomplice. And people need to
New World Order.
Yes, exactly. People need to call their congressperson, currently Mr. Jeff Miller.
I'll get to Mr. Miller here in just a minute.
And they need to tell them Trans-Pacific Partnership, we don't want it.
Right.
It's bad.
Look, folks, and I'm sure Deborah has an opinion. I will tell you this: I am all about fair trade.
Yeah, I am too.
I am
agree.
all
I agree.
over fair trade. I think you open the door for whatever folks in your country want to buy from our country, and we'll open the door for whatever you make. The people in the U.S. I'm all about that. However, what we've been doing is free trade agreements, and look, can't do a show without talking about it. Jeff Miller is right there with the New World Order group, and he has signed off on every free trade agreement. NAFTA, CAFTA.
NAFTA he wasn't there for. CAFTA he signed off on. Right. The last three that they did in South America or Central America he signed off on.
Jeff Miller
in North Korea.
Jeff Miller was the deciding vote in the Central America Free Trade Agreement, folks. And you all recall Ross Perot talking about the giant sucking sound. Well, if you're wondering why your manufacturing job left the United States of America to go to a foreign country, you can thank Mr. Miller for that. Because Mr. Miller, as the deciding vote, allowed CAFTA to come into law.
Well, let me just tell you something about Vietnam. Vietnam is now considered the economical labor substitute to China. Think about that. And they're a big... I mean, these are countries, again, Vietnam, Brunei, I mean, you even know where that is. Chile, Malaysia, New Zealand, these are countries, Peru, that we have, if we end up exporting anything to these countries, it's going to be minuscule. So there's no export market there.
Shirts and shoes.
Not made in the United States, exported out. That's not going to happen.
Right.
It's minuscule. They're not going to, you think they're going to be buying Ford F-150 trucks?
Right.
I mean,
no, we're helping them. We're not helping us.
What's going to happen is it allows them to sneak the jobs over there.
Right. Well, and as Deborah mentioned, loss of sovereignty for the...
That's the worst.
Yeah, for the United States of America.
That's outrageous.
It's over and over and over. And you can call it what you want to. Maybe I'm harping on Jeff Miller or not, but Jeff Miller's right in there, over and over and over. Daddy comes and pats him on top of the head and tells him which way to vote, and he goes right ahead and votes for him. I disagree with what is going on. Well, it's
quite possible he really doesn't grasp the issue at all. I mean, it's quite possible he doesn't understand it in any way, shape, or form. That's very possible. But it's still a problem that he's voting in favor of it. That's even worse.
Well, like I said, folks, I am all about fair trade. I think fair trade is good. That opens markets up for us, and it opens markets up for them. What we're doing right now is we are slowly chipping away at our country, and we're allowing little bitty places to control what happens to us. And do not forget, Jeff Miller, deciding vote on CAFTA, folks. That was NAFTA was bad enough. CAFTA added to it.
This will destroy us, job-wise. This will destroy us. This will be the last nail in the coffin.
Yeah. Well,
Trans-Pacific Partnership.
It just sometimes I wonder what kind of thought process they go through in Washington D.C. But speaking of Washington D.C., we have an election coming up, folks, and you're going to have an opportunity to replace 435 members of the House, and you're going to have an opportunity to replace about 33 or 34 members of the Senate. I will tell you right now, the Senate has not passed a budget in 1,180 something days. Basically, in 3 years, the Senate has not passed a budget.
Well, they're politically deadlocked.
I don't care what they are. Everybody else has to have a budget.
Mm-hmm. They're inept.
Reach up, grab the handle on the toilet bowl, pull it hard and flush every last one of them down. Everybody that voted in favor of raising the debt ceiling needs to be put back in the private sector.
And the bailouts.
And the bailouts.
Nobody who voted for the bailout should be returned anything.
All of them. And once again, Jeff Miller voted to increase the debt ceiling. Every last one of them that voted to increase the debt ceiling participated in the bailouts, and all of that. They need to be flushed, never to be seen again, and I look forward to them finding a private job in the United States of America that will keep them in the lap of luxury that they're enjoying right now. At $180-something thousand a year salary, plus benefits, plus health insurance, plus travel, plus mailing privileges, plus apparently periodically you can write bad checks and commit all kind of crimes.
Parking violations.
Parking violations. Just do whatever. Just do whatever you want to in Washington D.C. Well, I'm a congressman.
Yeah.
Like that's something special. Folks, this election coming up, please, please, please. We have an opportunity. You've heard me say it on this show before. We are hanging over the edge of the abyss. We have one finger left on the side of the mountain before we fall into it. All right? If we do not get our financial house in order, the latest numbers indicates that the cost to every man and woman and child in the United States of America at our current debt limit, our debt amount, is $117,000 for every man, woman, and child. Not counting problems in Social Security, not counting problems in a lot of the other.
Well, the problem with Social Security is that we don't have time to get into it, but it's that so many funds were lost with the tax cuts and all this other stuff, and then they don't want to cut the military. We won't get into it.
If we don't get
Social Security's in good shape if they don't screw it up.
If we don't get our financial house in order, and folks, if you don't think this can happen, the World Monetary Fund oversees all the movement of the financial transactions on the planet.
Well,
and they walk into
they need to go too.
Well,
that's another story.
I don't disagree with that, but they walk into a country and if you don't agree with reducing your expenditures, they don't let you play in the game anymore.
Unless you just tell them to kiss your rear end and finally get rid of them and go back to reality.
We got to get our financial house in order, folks. Hope you